we Catholics have patron saints for everything. St. Joseph, patron saint for families and for the elderly. There's St. Gerard Majella, the patron saint of expectant mothers. St. Jude, the patron saint of hopeless cases, and so many. We could go on down the list. But do we have patron saints for a time of, well, we would call it a pandemic, they call it time of plague? The answer is yes, we do. In fact, we have not just one, we have 14. They're called the 14 Holy Helpers. Back in around 1350, when the Black Plague was raging through Europe, millions of people died. And of course, with the population as it was then, millions meant a great deal of the people who were dying. The Christians, the believers, the Catholics who were always around then, looked to saints who could help them as they went through this plague. And they found that there were 14 saints who in some way were connected to all those things that were going on and to the care for all those things that were going on. So they called these 14 saints the 14 Holy Helpers. They prayed to them all at the same time. There are 11 men and 3 women. All of them except one are martyrs who died in the early days of the persecution of the 4th century. But each one had a special call, and I'll just tell you what they were. So Christopher and Giles were patron saints of the plague itself. St. Denis was the patron saint for headaches. St. Blaise for throat ailments. St. Barbara for fever. St. Pantaleon was the patron saint of doctors. St. Cyriacus was versus temptations on the deathbed. St. Christopher, Barbara, and Catherine were saints prayed to against a sudden unprovided death. St. Giles was the patron saint of a good confession, and St. Eustace was the healer of family problems. So you see, as they put those 14 saints together, they were covering all the things that you might be facing on your deathbed. The reality of the sins in your life, going to confession, caring for others, the care of those who you loved, and so on. So the 14 Holy Helpers, there's somebody that we could pray to in this time of plague. You don't have to remember all the names, just remember the 14 Holy Helpers. There's a basilica in Germany that's dedicated especially to them. In the United States, there's only one church dedicated to the 14 Holy Helpers, and it's upstate New York, near Buffalo, New York. So we have patron saints for the time of pandemic, the 14 Holy Helpers, and we can pray to them.
As we gather to pray and celebrate every day, and as we come here to take talk with you, this was last week's, reminding you that last week was Wednesday the 15th. Well, today is Wednesday the 22nd. And I said it because days run one into another. And 2 days ago, on Monday, I got all set up and ready for the Mass. I had my homily prepared, all ready to go, and then Bishop Wcela comes all vested because he was the one doing the Mass, and I thought it was Tuesday. So it happens even to younger people. This time does that to us. And so it's important, I think, to create structures in your life, not just teaching your children, going online with the teacher, whatever you got to do, doing work at home, the structure, but even structure for yourself to mark every day, because every day is a unique day, a special day. Someone asked me the other day through an email, I hope you have a good day. I wrote back, I'm having a great day, because it was a great day. And today is Earth Day. I told everyone who emailed me that today I'm going to celebrate by eating dirt. So I'm going to have a Mississippi mud pie later on. And then tonight before I go to bed, I'm going to have a mudslide. But I'm going to use rum, not vodka. To celebrate Earth Day in any way we can. Also, as we're gathering, the idea of how people turn to God in different times. We saw it right after 9/11. Big crowds came to churches, congregations, synagogues to pray. And it dwindled back down to almost non-existent, maybe a few months after that. Now people are doing that too, but you're seeing it in the lives of people who don't normally profess it. They have faith. They may go to church, they may pray, but they feel because they're in the marketplace, it's not wise to do so. I wore this shirt today because it says, if you can see it, in God I trust. And I wear it sometimes. I have another shirt that says choose life. It's by the people that put banners up to choose life, right to life, not abortion. And I wore this shirt one day going to the paint store to get paint to paint my mother's backyard patio. And some guy looked at my shirt and said, "Yeah, what are you wearing that for? What, what's that? You're trying to say something bad about me?" So I looked around, and there were about 10 other guys in the store. It was early mornings, all guys getting ready to do their work for the day. And I just looked at him and I said, "May God bless you." And he said, "No, I don't believe in God." And he walked away. And as he left, the other 10 guys looked at me. They know I was a priest. They just says, "Way to go, way to go." Now, all those guys may not have normally spoken about faith, but because it came up, they wanted to also say that their faith was important. I think that's something that we need to do at this time. Besides marking each day as a special, unique day, we also need to say somehow, some way that our faith is vitally important, not just in this time, but every time.
Besides the 14 holy helpers, there's another saint who's a patron saint in times of plague, and that's he goes by different names. In France, he's Saint Roche. In England, Saint Roch. In our country, in most places, he's Saint Rocco. Saint Rocco lived in the early part of the 14th century, the early 1300s. He belonged to a wealthy family in France. When he was very affected by the teaching of Saint Francis. And so when he was 20 years old, he gave away all that he had, and he went on pilgrimage to Rome. At that time, there was also a serious plague raging in Rome. And it happened that Rocco Roche had this tremendous gift that he could, just by his words, he could cure people of the plague. Or even in some towns, when he went to the town, the plague would stop because he came there. Well, after being in Rome for a while, he went back to France, to his home. When they got back, people didn't recognize him. They thought he was a spy, so they arrested him. They never told them who he was. So eventually he died in prison. Now, we have one church in our parish, in our diocese, dedicated to St. Rocco. It's in Glen Cove. And when you see pictures of St. Rocco, there are always three things by which you can notice that it's St. Rocco, either a picture or a statue. One is that he has a long staff, and the staff is the symbol of the pilgrim. The second thing is that he's always lifting up part of his clothing on the side of his leg to show all kinds of marks on his leg. And those are the marks of the plague, because he got the plague too. And the third thing that's always in the picture, which is interesting, is a dog. Because there's a legend that goes with St. Rocco, and that is that when he caught the plague, he went out into the forest to a lonely place just to die in isolation. While he was there, the hunting dog of a nobleman found him, and the dog began to lick his wounds and also brought him food. And so eventually St. Rocco recovered. So Rocco is the patron saint of dogs. So if you have a dog, maybe not a bad name for if you have getting a new dog is Rock. It's a good name in itself, and it's a good name for the patron saint of dogs. And it's another saint that we can pray to at this time, to Saint Rocco, Saint Roch, Saint Roche, whatever name you want to use.
I thought today I'd give you a little update about some things that are going on. So first and foremost, the parish is open. It's open. We're here. We take your phone calls. Occasionally we go to people's homes if they're sick and dying. Occasionally we'll hear confession by appointment only for a very serious matter, not just a devotional type of confession. Food, Sister Margaret is with her volunteer every day, Monday to Friday from 10 to 12, giving food out. And many, many people have been so generous, dropping off food and also sending donations to keep the food supply going. The town of Riverhead is going to give a whole truckload of food, I believe sometime later this week or next week. So that's being done. Religious education. Rita and Liz, they're calling up all the families. They're doing stuff on email. They're going to have packets for them to pick up so they can continue their work, even though we probably won't have any more classes for this semester, but they can finish their work and continue to grow in their faith. In terms of other things around the parish, the sprinkler system had just been turned on, so now the water will come and the flowers that were planted. Tommy and Tommy's worker, Blanco, spent 2 full days throwing stuff all around the trees. I think what you call it, fertilizer, moss, peat, whatever. and they planted all more new flowers. So it looks beautiful. Today's Earth Day. If you want to come by the church, take a walk around and enjoy the beautiful scenery that we have. It's a great place to pray and to look. Also, as you probably have heard, some painting, some other fixing's been done. We plan to do some more painting within the church before this is over, if the contractors are allowed to come, because sometimes they're not considered essential workers. But that is going on at this time as well. In terms of diocesan stuff that's happening or not happening, they have suspended or canceled the ordination of the deacons, which is going to be, I think, next month. I don't know about the ordination of the priesthood yet. We haven't gotten a notice on that. And also, the diocese has decided, along with what the governor said, that nothing will be open until after the 15th of May. I believe that's the date. So we have a long time to go, but we invite you to continue to journey with us on this very strange journey, and to enjoy each day, because each day is a great day. And now the bishop and I will give you some entertainment. So stick with us.
Cut it off. Cut it off.
Oh,
Cut it off.
I'll do mine.
We should do 2 short things that you put up separately from this, instead of watching this whole thing.
They're ready for it now.
People have to sit through this whole thing just to watch these 2 short things we have on the end.
Okay. No. What? Want me to do it?
Say bye.
Bye. Bye.